She arrived full of anticipation to meet her high school sweetheart, but before seeing him, she watched as he suddenly collapsed, foaming at the mouth. Ishan rushed forward to check on him while shouting for help. She held Faiku's hand tightly, watching helplessly as his breathing grew more labored. Paramedics quickly loaded him into an ambulance. Ishan wanted to accompany him, but when asked for the man's name, she frowned and fell silent, leading the emergency personnel to refuse her request. After the doors closed, Feiku was gagged, and an unknown liquid was injected into him through a syringe. The ambulance drove to a pier and stopped. Several people dragged out a suitcase, then boarded a boat and fled. Not long after, Hishan suddenly received a letter informing her that Feiku had passed away due to illness. Since his will mentioned Hishan, she was specially invited to a memorial service. As an old friend, Hishan knew Feiku must have been hiding something. Relying on her reporter's instincts, she went to the scene alone. However, upon arrival, she found only 5 other people there, none of whom knew each other. They included Chen Shufa, owner of Nanning Mining, Cheng Hao, a finance professional, Su Qian, who worked for a foreign medical company, Xian Er, a freelancer, and Lu Mo, the funeral arranger and driver. The group was then led to a basement where a coffin was placed. Lu Mo demanded that each of them share their story about Feiku, otherwise, the will would not be read. But Chen Shufa suspected the coffin did not contain Feiku and stepped forward to open the lid. Lu Mo warned that he was only following the will's instructions and that without cooperation, they would not see Feiku one last time. Just as everyone was growing impatient and preparing to leave, Hishan overturned the coffin lid, revealing it was empty. Before anyone could react, Lu Mo had quietly escaped and locked the basement door. Cheng Hao lamented angrily that he had been fooled again. Hishan couldn't help but ask, "Have all of you been deceived by Feiku?" After some discussion, they realized each person had indeed been tricked by him. When comparing contact information, they discovered Feiku had used 5 different accounts, and each of them had been in touch with a different version of him. Noticing a surveillance camera in the corner pointed at them, Hishan spoke calmly. She expressed her willingness to share her story about Feiku, hoping the person behind this would honor their promise and reveal the will's contents afterward. Seeing no immediate way out, everyone gradually sat down, ready to tell their stories. The first to speak was mining tycoon Chen Shufa, Feiku's father-in-law. Hishan had actually attended Feiku's wedding, where photography was prohibited, and phone cameras were sealed with stickers. While touching up her makeup in the restroom, Hishan faintly heard sobbing from a corner. As she tried to investigate, a group of bridesmaids suddenly entered, interrupting her. She had no choice but to return to the banquet hall. Hishan speculated that although those present didn't know each other, they might have crossed paths before. Su Qian believed Feiku wanted them to find their connections and piece together the truth, since a liar's words couldn't be fully trusted. Chen Shufa angrily accused Feiku of not only being a fraud but also a murderer. His daughter, he claimed, had been killed by Feiku. At the end of 2014, Chen Shufa's daughter returned from studying in the UK. In the spring of the following year, she met Feiku at a charity gala. A noisy boy suddenly became the center of attention, but Feiku's presence quickly calmed him down. Feiku's trick of suspending a soda can above the table demonstrated both intelligence and emotional intelligence. Catching Chen Jiajia's attention, she initiated a conversation with Feiku and found they both had study abroad backgrounds. Feiku claimed to have graduated from Columbia Business School, and their shared topics quickly won Chen Jiajia over. Within less than half a year of knowing each other, they were discussing marriage. Once, after Feiku dropped Chen Jiajia off at home, she had a heated argument with her father. Chen Shufa had secretly investigated Feiku's background and believed a nearly 30-year-old fund manager was not good enough for his daughter. Under pressure, Feiku, waiting at a bus stop, received a call from Chen Jiajia. He stood downstairs holding flowers, and when Chen Jiajia looked out the window, she was deeply moved. The next day was the anniversary of Chen Jiajia's mother's death. She threw a tantrum and refused to visit the grave. To appease her, Chen Shufa agreed to meet Feiku. Chen Jiajia had planned to book a Western restaurant, but Feiku suggested cooking a homemade meal instead. This way, he could showcase his cooking skills and leave a good impression. On the way to his place, Feiku sent a location pin, calling it another one of his residences. When Chen Shufa mentioned the address, Cheng Hao suddenly interrupted, "That's my home." When Chen Shufa entered the luxurious penthouse, his doubts began to fade. However, his businessman's caution led him to ask about the property details. Feiku was well prepared, and his answers left Chen Shufa with little to criticize. Feiku then demonstrated his tea-making skills, while the Porsche key and luxury watch on the table made Chen Shufa feel that Feiku was somewhat reliable. During the meal, Chen Shufa asked about Feiku's parents' professions. This question would ultimately lead to his downfall. Feiku lowered his voice and said his father worked in the Department of Land and Mineral Resources Management. He took his mother's surname, while his father's surname was Li. Chen Shufa's heart stirred. As someone in the mining industry, Feiku's father turned out to be his direct superior. These words delighted him. Later, he checked the records and confirmed that there was indeed a deputy director Li in the Land and Mineral Resources Department. He quickly made up his mind to meet Feiku's parents. On the day set for the parents to meet, Feiku's father couldn't attend due to a meeting. His mother, however, was poised and elegant in her demeanor, and Chen Shufa was very satisfied, agreeing to the marriage. On the wedding day, Fei Ke's father only called to apologize for his absence. By then, Chen Shufa fully trusted Fei Ke. After the wedding, he even handed Fei Ke a bank card with 10 million as seed money for the new family. But Fei Ke wanted more. He purchased a new property in Chen Jiajia's name, paying 100,000 as down payment, and suggested renting a place after marriage. Unwilling to let his daughter suffer, Chen Shufa let the couple move into his family villa. Fei Ke gradually won the entire family's trust. Later, he took Chen Shufa to visit his fund company and recommended an investment project involving Canadian cancer screening equipment. He claimed the technology was exclusive, requiring only a tissue sample from a needle to predict cancer risk. Profits would come from the disposable needle heads, and the project could eventually be included in health checkups, with an expected IPO in 3 years. Chen Shufa was intrigued and asked about the investment amount. Fei Ke said he only had about 5 to 6 million in shares available. An opportunity arose for Fei Ke. Authorities began cracking down on private mines with incomplete permits. Chen Shufa's mining license was leased, and no new licenses were being issued. He wanted to use Fei Ke's connections to smooth things over but was tactfully refused. However, Fei Ke took matters into his own hands, claiming he had found a former director from the mining department who now chaired a group and could acquire Chen Shufa's mine. He then took Chen Shufa into a sealed room. In the room, the curtains were drawn shut, and a voice came through a walkie-talkie. The person introduced himself as Yu Jifeng, and stated that while he could proceed with the acquisition, there were many competitors. Eager to close the deal quickly, Chen Shufa agreed to a 260 million deal over the walkie-talkie. However, Fei Ke later mentioned that the other party demanded a 10% kickback, with funds to be transferred through him as an intermediary. Each time Chen Shufa followed up on the progress, Fei Ke would say over the phone, "Just wait a little longer," and continuously asked for money under the pretext of smoothing things over. In total, he took over 40 million. Then, Fei Ke suddenly disappeared.